Hello everyone, my name is Spiffy Thomas, and today I'll be showing you how to set up the Super Metroid Map Rando Multiworld. Now there's a couple of things that you're going to want to do first. First of all, if you've never tried Super Metroid Map Rando, I highly suggest trying to give that a go on your own first. It's a full inclusive, single player Super Metroid randomizer where it shuffles every single room around opposed to just every item. Now yes, if you haven't tried it yet, check out maprando.com. Again, www.maprando.com. All right, so a couple other things you're going to need is going to be the Archipelago Multiworld system. Now, you might have heard of Archipelago.gg before, where people use this to play multi-world across different games, different everything else. It's the same Archipelago. Now, because Super Metroid Map Rando is kind of still in the early stages of trying to get the bugs out, it's not openly released on their website, so you won't find it there. What you'll need to do instead is install the local version of Archipelago on your machine. Now, I'll be working with Windows and Archipelago 0.5.0. There's a newer version 0.5.1 as you can see here, but that's not going to be the version that we've been working with. This one was only released a couple of days ago, and I already have it set up for 0.5.0. So that's what we'll be using today. So as you see here, I'm on the main Archipelago webpage on their GitHub. Links in the description below. We are going to skip past Archipelago 0.5.1 and just go down to 0.5.0. Now, when you get here, you'll see 0.5.0, and that's the version that I will be using. Scroll on down to the bottom where you get to the assets and download the version that's best for you. For me, I'll be using setup.archipelago.0.5.0.exe, and that's for Windows. I'm on Windows 10. So after you download the file, you'll go ahead and either make a new directory, or if you already had Archipelago installed, what you can do is just launch the executable and it'll find where Archipelago is already installed on your computer. It'll update it to this version, and also you can download any other customizable things you want. For in my example here, it's actually downloading more A Link to the Past sprites. For new users who've never done this before, I suggest just kind of making a new folder, perhaps somewhere you can really easily find it. Maybe either on the desktop or just like, in a user file somewhere like that. But after you're done with that, go ahead and launch it. It's going to take you to something that looks a little crazy. It might have a lot of keywords that you might not recognize, and that's okay. All right, then this is what I'm talking about here. There's a lot of clients, there's a lot of games. If you're familiar with Archipelago, you've probably seen every one of these before. What we are concentrating on is going to be the install ApWorld. Now, the ApWorld is a file that the Map Rando developers have created to integrate with Archipelago, and that's what we'll be using. Links to the file in the description below. So you click on ApWorld here, you go ahead and find out where your ApWorld file is, and you just go double click that. So as you see here, I have an exception because I already have ApWorld installed. You won't have that installed. It's going to look like it froze for just a few minutes, but it is actually working. Once you double click that, it's working in the background, and then you'll get a message that says it installed successfully. When you're done with that, you go ahead and exit on out of this. The next step is to find where your Archipelago is installed. All right, so I found out where my Archipelago is installed. Your folder is going to look very similar to this, but you're going to be missing one of these folders called output. You don't have to worry about that right now. Generally, the host of the game will have to deal with all of this. What you need to do is to go ahead and create something called a YAML. Now, a YAML basically is just a settings file. I'll go ahead and show you a base file that I've already made for Multiworld. So starting at the top, this is your username here. This is what's going to be displayed on the servers and everything else. Most of these, if you look at these hashtag marks there or the pound signs, they're all comments. They're going to explain what they do, but I'll give you a brief overview here. Here's where you put your name. I would be Spiffy Thomas. And then we go down. This is going to be the game that you're going to be playing. Progression balancing, we usually leave this around 50, especially if there's a large number of people. Because again, as the comments say, basically the higher the number you choose, the less likely you'll be stuck waiting on other people. Now, there's going to be a lot of specific ranges, and you might not understand how this works at first. However, just realize that these are all different categories you can choose from, and the numbers that go after colons, after these colons, are the likelihood that they're going to be chosen. So let's put it this way. You have 5 straws, right? If you have 5 straws total, the archipelago generator is going to draw one of those straws and only one of those straws. And in this case here, I have 50 straws only. The rest of them are set to 0. That means of the 50 straws, it's going to choose 1, and it's going to be normal. In this case, I've basically disabled every other setting and just left it at 50. Now, if I had to put 50 here as well, there'd be 100 straws total, and the generator would draw 1 random straw, and it has a 50-50 chance of being disabled or normal. So whatever numbers you put in here, it's all added up and they draw 1 straw. A lot of this stuff you're not going to worry about too much. We're leaving it basic logic for now. Items are going to be random. You're not going to force anything to be in your world only. So we'll skip down. Go ahead and look through these comments if you want to change some of your settings. Again, the best part about multi-world is that you choose your own settings. You choose the settings that you want to use. I will choose my own settings and you can choose your own, and they will work together seamlessly. The presets here is going to be specific to Super Metroid Map Rando. Now, you guys know the horror tricky, the extremes, the insane and stuff like that. This is where you choose the preset. On Archipelago, using this ApWorld, they don't have a setting to choose from between normal, tricky, challenge, or desolate. So you're just going to have to kind of stick with this, just the presets. So after you've chosen all your settings, go ahead and hit save, exit on out. I will go ahead and give you a link to the description to get your YAML here. And after this, what you do is wait for your host. So after your host has generated your files for everybody in your world, I'm just doing a demo file here. So your name here. What you need to do next is this. It might be a little complicated, so pay attention. This is what you need to do. When you find the directory that your Archipelago installation is installed in, you scroll down and you look for something called the Archipelago SNI client. Now that's hard to see, of course, as there are a lot of other clients, a lot of other executables. Hold up, don't double click it. Don't do it. Now your host is giving you your file. This is what it should look like. It'll say AP, a bunch of numbers, usually the seed number, your player number, your name as depicted on your YAML file, .apsmmr, Archipelago Super Metroid Map Rando. That's what that stands for. What you need to do now is to grab your file and you launch that file using your SNI client. Now, the best way for me on Windows to do that is just take and click and drag that file onto the Archipelago SNI client.exe. And as you see, as you hover over, it actually says open with Archipelago. That's what you want to do. Now, this executable is going to take care of the rest. I have a default launcher for my ROMs, and that's going to go ahead and start SNES9X. You might not have that because, well, you might not have set it up before, but eventually this SNI client will pop up right here, as well as generate your ROM in the file that your executable, your ApSMMR file was in. This is your ROM. This is what you need to put on your FX Pack Pro or something like that. Again, I'm no expert at using hardware. I'm only using the emulator. But this will go ahead and launch. It'll go ahead and run the AP multi-world version of it. And what you need to do is get the number from the host. In my instance here, as you can see in the background, my port number is 50794. We'll hit connect, and now your SNI client is connected to the server that the host has generated on the web page for you. On the other side, you connect the same way you have this whole time. So as you guys see here, I'm connecting just the way I usually do. Go back and check on your SNI client. It says your name here, Team 1 playing Super Metroid Map Rando has joined client, and this is the Archipelago number 0.5.0 and using AP. That means you are connected and you are ready to go. At this point, you may go ahead and play like normal, or you can wait on everybody else to see if anybody needs help connecting. And that is how you connect to Super Metroid Map Rando. And that's it. Now you have a working connection for Super Metroid Map Rando in Multiworld. A quick review again, make sure you download the Archipelago local version onto your machine. I use 0.5.0, that's just because I have it up and running already. Next is to install the ApWorld file for Super Metroid Map Rando. Links in the description below for all of this. Next, you make your YAML file. That's just the configuration text file that your host will need to generate your seed for you. Again, that's a YAML.yaml file. After that, once you get your configuration files back from your host, launch that file with the Archipelago SNI client.exe. Remember, that's the one where you click and drag the file onto the executable itself, and that'll open up the SNI client just like this. Now you connect to this SNI client like you would before when you played Super Metroid of any kind. Connect there, and you're good to go. Hope you guys had a good one. Hope you guys learned something new, and I hope this was working for you well. Any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Until then, have fun, take it easy. I'm out of here. Peace.